you take anything away from this video that you're watching now, let it be this. When I coached in college, we called August, when the kids are reporting, these are the returning athletes as well as the new recruits coming in, we called August Tendonitis month. And that was when everybody came in and back from their summer leagues and back from whatever league they were playing in, and everybody seemed like they had a ding or a nick or they had tendonitis or something like this. And you have to understand something, moms and dads and athletes. Summer ball is where, this is for high school and college, summer ball is where the vast majority, in my experience, of the injuries either show up as in, ooh, I hurt my arm, or start with a predisposition. And if that means a little bit of a tweak, like, that didn't quite feel right. Or, I hurt my arm. And here's what we would get in college. We would get kids who would come back and say, yeah, I'm coming back in hurt. They hurt something over the summer. Or we had kids that would come in and just lie. They would just lie directly to it, knowing they did get hurt. They weren't hurt, but they had some tweaks and they kind of shut it down and they're scared to tell us. That's why the first couple weeks in any good college program, the one that is there the most is going to be the ATC and sometimes the physician. We had Dr. Jordan's, this is in Tallahassee Orthopedic Clinic, and our contract was with TOC, Tallahassee Orthopedic Clinic, and we would have several of those physicians, and there's a bunch of them out there, as well as our athletic trainer, our head trainer, Chief Frank Ambrose. Shout out to you, Chief. You're the best, brother. But we would have them come out in those first few weeks and really put our guys through a big-time athletic diagnostic, what's called a sports performance evaluation, where they're testing both ball joints. They're testing the hips, they're testing the shoulders, and they're seeing if they're coming in. So we wouldn't believe the athlete. It's a trust and verify thing. So how was your summer, Johnny? Oh, it was great, coach. Had a good time, all that. And then they go in with Chief, and Chief's like, yeah, no, he's got a problem. He's got some instability, or he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do, or he's got a little bit of an issue. We're going to have to start him later. So you can't lie to those guys. They know. The testing that they have is very sharp and very clean. But we would get guys in that would say, yeah, coach, I get hurt, or they would just lie. But the vast majority of the injuries that were reported to us in college came out of summer ball. Now, I'm telling you that to also tell you this. You have to understand, in baseball, it's a very different sport. We don't injure the muscles nearly as often as we injure soft tissues and tendons and ligaments and things like that, which don't have a great deal of blood flow. They heal very slowly. Muscle has a great deal of blood flow. If you cut into a muscle, it bleeds profusely. But if you cut through a ligament or a tendon, there's very little blood flow. In fact, really, it's more bathed in fluid. It's in a sheath, in fluid more than anything else. And it takes a long time for them to heal. They're not as elastic as muscle. They're just not as plastic as muscle. They're not as malleable as a muscle. So it takes a long time to heal. And they don't stretch. They just pop. So they don't have a lot of room to give. Where a muscle can have a little bit of a strain, where you overextend the muscle and you have the little micro tears. Those heal pretty quickly. But on ligaments and tendons, like this one, that UCL, if we get too much in there and you get a little bit of a tear, that's a much bigger issue because it takes so much longer to heal. And the vast majority of the guys that we would get over the summer would have these little tweaks, these little nagging tendonitis kind of things. And tendonitis is tendon and itis is swelling. But why is it swelling? Well, because there's a problem in there. There's a little bit of a tweak, and we call those predispositions. So now he makes the trainer's list, and we have to completely change through the fall how we approach the workouts for that athlete so that we give the maximum amount of time for that ligament, that connective tissue that doesn't have a whole lot of blood flow, to really stimulate it to heal. Because those predispositions, if they aren't attained to, if they're not dealt with and given the time, you can't rush it. You can come back early from a muscle pull. Some guys come back real early from it. It's really hard to come back from tendons and ligament issues. Very difficult. It takes time for them. So they're on a whole different timeline, whole different protocol, because we don't need them for the fall. We need them for the spring. So when we get guys in August, we have a plan taking us from August to December, but that plan has got all kinds of course correction in it, because guys will show up from summer league all dinged up. Now, let's talk a little bit about why they come back from summer league all dinged up. Here's the primary reason. You report, high school and college both work off the semester system. So you've got a fall semester, you've got a spring semester, and then you're off during the summer. With these two semesters, you have a great deal of structure. Your morning classes start at X time, you're out by this time, you're in a very healthy, stable routine. Practice starts here, we practice every day. It's wash, rinse, repeat, and it's very, very stable. But in the summertime, all that's stripped away. When you go home, or you're not going to high school, or you're playing in the Valley League, or you're playing in Cape Cod, that structure is stripped away. So now it's up to you. Now, good high school teams, which I don't know many that'll do this, but real good college teams will send their players away for the summer with not only a workout, but actually check-in sheets, check-in dates, where they need to be checking in with either a coach or a trainer or something like that, reporting what they've done, what their innings are. They'll keep track. They'll keep tabs on them. Sometimes they'll do it, like if they're playing in Cape Cod, that's easy to keep track of them. You know how many, because those games are posted online. But other leagues, like the high school leagues and things like that, there's not. So those schedules can run amok, and you can really get very quickly out of a good routine where you're not doing your stabilizations, you're not doing your recoveries, you're just kind of showing up and playing. Okay, all right, well, remember, you got to go play in college again, or you got to make the high school team again. So this is the time when that structure is removed. Athletes, if they aren't trained to not do this or given a program, they'll just downshift right to that path of least resistance and show up barely on time and late, not stretch. You're gonna get hurt. It is a near certainty you're gonna get hurt, because that's when they all happen, or that's when the stage is set with those little tweaks and those predispositions to happen at a different season. Summer ball has to maintain, it doesn't have to be the same structure, but you cannot skip your stabos. You cannot skip your stabilization routine. You cannot skip recovery. If you're going to skip something, don't lift weights. Don't lift. But never skip stabilization and never skip recovery. Those are really the two things. If you take anything away from this video that you're watching now, let it be this. When that structure is removed, you're still doing your pregame stabilizations and you're still doing your recovery protocols. Never, those are non-negotiables. Never, ever, ever skip those during the summer.